the two certainty videos, I concluded that knowledge of things of the world, in other words, beyond pure ideas, is less than certain. This is the position advocated by empiricists. The consequence of this then, in order to defend knowledge from the challenge of extreme scepticism that knowledge is not possible, we must look to evidence and explanation in order to justify our beliefs as true or having the status of knowledge. From this starting point, these two videos, this focusing on evidence and the next focusing on justification, the aim then is to explore a little further evidence, explanation and justification, focusing in particular on the knowledge question: how can we judge when evidence is adequate for knowledge? These 4 slides really represent an activity that I run in my classes, Crime Scene Investigation TOK. The purpose of these activities is to really demonstrate to the students the role that evidence has in supporting knowledge claims, in this case, what happened and why. The scenario, therefore, is students take the role of a detective with the objective of discerning as much as they can with regard to the crime scene, such as who is the victim, how did they die, and if this was a crime, who perpetrated the crime and why. I'll highlight to the students that what we are essentially doing is presenting knowledge claims, and those knowledge claims need to be justified with evidence, in this case evidence that we can draw from the crime scene. This slide really indicates some of the conclusions with supporting evidence that are produced from the previous activity. With regard to how they died, it's almost certain that they were murdered, since the evidence of the bullet holes and the footprints appear to be quite conclusive. We might also be quite sure that the victim was called John Doe, as indicated by the passport, and maybe less sure that they were married, as indicated by the wedding ring. This is because the wedding ring is probably more easy to fake or plant than the passport. The other thing we might say about the victim is that they had certain gambling debts to Don Corleone, the evidence being the note in their pocket. This slide really serves as a conclusion to that CSI TOK activity, and what it details is our colleague Sherlock Holmes's conclusion regarding the motivations for the victim's murder. Essentially that the victim owed gambling debts to Don Corleone, and Don Corleone always resolves that problem the same way. The thing that I highlight to the students here is that Holmes is certain of this conclusion, as sure as 2 + 2 = 4. This is a clear reference to those videos about certainty, and here the mathematical certainty would be absolutely philosophically certain. The point I'm trying to make is that any knowledge claim about things of the world, in this case the crime scene, are always going to be less than 100% philosophically certain. For example, I will often try and elicit from students alternative explanations, maybe focusing on the lipstick, suggesting the possibility of an affair, and the possibility then that the note was planted and that the victim didn't have any gambling debts whatsoever. As a final classroom task, I will ask the students to identify the different types of evidence and forms of explanation used in the different areas of knowledge. For example, with mathematics, mathematical truth claims are supported and explained by mathematical logic itself. In the natural sciences, the evidence will be drawn from experimental data and the explanation from the scientific theory. And then in history and the arts, the explanation and the evidence will come from the artwork or the historical sources themselves. Referencing the idea of certainty as a sliding scale, this is also a good opportunity to invite the students to order the different areas of knowledge in terms of the certainty they have. So, with good reason, mathematics and mathematical knowledge has a great deal of certainty, since mathematical claims are logically or necessarily true. At the other end of the scale, the arts and history. Knowledge claims in these areas of knowledge are very much influenced by interpretation that results from the different perspectives knowers have. Therefore, you could claim that the certainty of truth claims within these areas of knowledge are far less. In conclusion, if we accept the empiricist position that knowledge claims about the world are less than certain, we must refer to evidence and explanation in order to justify our beliefs and defend knowledge from the skeptical challenge. The example of the detective is really a great metaphor that explains that relationship between evidence, explanation, and justification for knowledge claims. It also highlights that we are actually really familiar with the idea that knowledge claims are open to doubt, and we are more likely to believe in any claim if the quality of the evidence and the explanation is good. The final point to be aware is how evidence and explanation functions in the different areas of knowledge. And really, all of the areas of knowledge use evidence and explanation to support their knowledge claims. However, the types of evidence and the forms of explanation are different for those different areas of knowledge.